And so Donald Trump Jr. has allegedly tested positive for COVID-19, and frankly, I could care less. I don't care that he's sick. I don't care if it ruins his quality of life. I do not care if it ruins his image. And if I had an extra large in that green jacket Melania Trump had that reads, "I really don't care," I'd be wearing it right now with my back to the camera this entire episode so you can see just how little I give a fuck about this guy. So you might say it's fucked up. You might say it's a horrible thing to say, but I'm being completely honest on a guy who comes from a family and, I mean, based on all their misdeeds, particularly in the last 4 years, I mean, come on. Now he's saying that he's asymptomatic. I saw the video he posted on social media and he's sounding a little Darth Vader-ish in that his breathing sounds noticeably labored, but he's pretending not to be. That's how it looks. Normally, I'd call bullshit in that his family is so much in the business of dishonesty and corruption, and he, like others from that camp, has a tendency to lie their balls off. It's established. Here's why I don't care. So you take away all the damage his stupid father has caused this country in the last 4 years. For the last 8 or 9 months, his family and his father's administration and the enablers, once again, have politicized this deadly virus that he allegedly has by denying its existence and calling it a hoax and ridiculing those that wear masks while the death toll has climbed above 250,000 people, and we've had over 12 million infections for Americans alone. So let's do a partial roll call on the people in Trump world who have been infected. So you got Donald Sr., you got Melania Trump, his wife, you got Junior's auditorium screaming girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle, you got former Governor Chris Christie, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Secretary of Housing and Human Ambient Ben Carson, Florida Senator Rick Scott, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, more than, I want to say 130 Secret Service agents, about 25 or more White House staff members, and former presidential candidate Herman Cain, who fell ill after attending that Tulsa rally, and before he died, he tweeted and saying, "Don't believe everything you hear on fake news. I've never had the Wuhan flu because it doesn't exist." Well, it turns out the guy did have it, and he did die from it. So if you think I'm being an asshole about this, then I want someone to tell me what an appropriate emotional response is for those who are racist and reckless enough to deny the lethality of a virus while hundreds of thousands of Americans continue to die. Might I add, more will die, unfortunately, and I think this is one of the biggest failures of a nation that claims to be a global leader. It didn't have to be this way. It's a complete, utter shame. Now, I do have sympathy for the Secret Service agents that are detailed to protect the White House staff. My understanding is that, these are men and women that put their lives on the line for whomever is in office without any question. I do have sympathy for Trump Jr.'s kids, and that kids rarely deserve anything or deserve the consequences that stupid adults make. And from a public safety point of view, I sincerely hope these people do not spread the virus to others, especially those who are trying to avoid it. And having said that, I could give a fuck about Donald Trump Jr. I don't know the guy. I don't need to know the guy, but if I had to guess, I would say Trump Jr.'s misconnection is, he thinks he's one of these masters of the universe. He's benefited off of his daddy's name, his daddy's wealth. He's probably high on his father's status, and he just lathers up with that ass kissing that people from the right give his family. But that's not adoration and respect he's earned. those are the things he enjoys and benefits from based on his father's last name. So if we reconnect the dots on this, I think Junior's inflated ego and his arrogance blinded him to the fact that popularity and wealth doesn't safeguard anyone from illness. See, Junior and many of these other clowns thought they could play a deadly game and not have to answer to science or Mother Nature for the consequences. Junior is so stupid and so up his father's ass to gain his approval, it's beyond him to say, look, father or dad, what you're doing isn't right. And I can't be a part of this whole COVID denial thing. It's wrong. And just maybe he's too stupid to understand that all of those cheers and cult-like adoration the family get is really just for his father. So what you have is a guy with an inflated ego, a man that's too stupid to know that parental approval isn't worth the price he's willing to pay. Because as adult children, a lot of us wouldn't play that game to appease our parents, given the stakes, and the stakes here are high. I'd personally rather stay silent than to be an accomplice to that high of a crime. At the last presidential rally, Donald Sr. wouldn't even give Donald Jr. a hug when he leaned out, or I guess reached out to do the family thing and hugging each other. So I doubled down. I do not care what has happened to this guy. This is one thing where I won't be shamed or I won't be guilty for sharing my thoughts on this. You would think that the death count and the spread of the virus to members of his whole family would humble him. I see no evidence of that. The Trump administration's mishandling of the coronavirus response has been an ever-expanding cautionary tale that no one in that world has seemed to have learned. And it's unfathomable. I really don't get it. There was a time where I would have been very reluctant to admit my indifference out loud. But these people are sociopaths, and I give them no sympathy. They're without shame. So, well, who I do reserve my sympathy for are people who have lost family members and loved ones to the virus, people who have lost their livelihoods, people fighting for their lives in the hospitals and the ER room and intensive care. And of course, those who are working very hard and working to the bone to fight the virus. Your Anthony Fauci's of the world, the healthcare professionals, essential workers, and last but not least, those who consciously and willingly practice social distancing and mask wearing. That is where my sympathy will be directed. Not at the idiots, not people like Trump Jr., not people like Trump Sr., not people like Melania, or all these senators who have been complicit in weakening our response to a deadly pandemic. I won't do it.